Hello students, I hope you all are fine. In this video lecture, we will discuss communication process and advertising. After completing this video lecture, the students will be able to understand basic communication process and advertising communication process and system. Advertising in business is a type of communication that persuades and encourages people to take a particular action, and that action can be purchase or involvement. Therefore, it's important for the advertisers to communicate with the consumers. First of all, we will discuss basic human communication process. In communication process, there is a transmission of message from a sender to the receiver. A sender encodes a message, whereas the receiver decodes the message. The end results of the communication process is the understanding of the message, and that message is transmitted through media or certain channels. Encoding means putting the thoughts or ideas in symbolic form by the sender, and decoding means drawing out the meaning from the message by the receiver. And this message which is transmitted should accomplish three tasks in order to be effective. That must gain the attention of the receiver, that must be understood, it must stimulate the need of the receiver and suggest appropriate methods to satisfy these needs. The response to the message is known through the feedback that is received from the receiver. The communication sometimes fails to accomplish its purpose, the creation of an appropriate response or understanding when the message gets distorted by noise elements. So this whole process can be illustrated with the help of diagram as explained in the next slide. Basic human communication process and its eight elements. There are basic 8 elements in this process: sender, encoding and message, media, decoding, and receiver. Then receiver gives feedback to the sender, and sometimes the message gets distorted. Our communication process is not affected because of the noise element. That is the 8th element of this communication process. And the message is mutually shared between sender and receiver. This is the source field of experience in which the sender encodes its message, then that message is transmitted through a certain channel or media to the receiver. This is a source field of experience, and it is receiver's field of experience in which the encoded message of the sender is sent through media to the receiver, then receiver, before drawing out the meaning, it decodes the message. It is receiver's field of experience. So there are 8 basic elements of communication: sender and receiver. These are the major communication parties. Message and media are the major communication tools. Encoding and decoding and the feedback represent the major communication functions. Noise is the last system which distorts or interferes with the intended communication. The advertising communication. Advertising is an audio-visual form of marketing that engage an open, non-personal message to promote a product or a service. Advertisers are mostly businesses looking for the promotion of their goods. Advertisements are communicated through various mass media such as newspapers, magazines, television, radio, or the internet. And the actual presentation of a particular message in some medium is called advertisement. Communication process. It refers to the interchange of information between two or more people. For the communication to be effective, both the parties must be able to exchange and understand the information. If the flow of information is obstructed for some reason, the communication process fails. Advertising communication can be defined as a perception or a process of the source, a message, a communication channel, and the receiver. Receiver might sometimes becomes a source of information by communicating the message to the family or friends, and this kind of communication is called word of mouth communication. And advertising communication includes any material published using any medium or activity undertaken by or on behalf of the advertisers. Sometimes that attracts the attention of the public in a way to promote directly or indirectly a product or service. Now we will discuss advertising communication process and system. In advertising communication process, the first element is the sender or source. Sender or source is the person who sends the message. Source is a person or a group of persons or an institution or an organization who intend to share some message to the receiver or the audience. And source can be manufacturer, marketer, wholesalers, retailers, advertisers, sponsors, or companies. For example, a source could be a salesman who wish to communicate a sales message, or it can be an organization that want to send a message to thousands of consumers through advertisements. So, source is also known as the sender. The sender must have a clear picture of the message in his mind, what he want to communicate. Source is the originator in the communication process. For example, a marketing executive may have the ideas or information about the product or service for which he want to communicate to his subordinates or the sales force or his customers. So, sources can be direct or indirect. Direct sources means when the source wants to intend a message to the target audience itself. And indirect source refers to a message source that is model, attractive personality, sports person, film actors, etc., who convey the message of the organization to the target audience. Means the source conveys the message through any other person about the organization to the audience or the customers. Next is encoding of the message. Encoding refers to putting thoughts, ideas, or information in symbolic form. And sender's goal is to encode the message in such a way that it will be understood by the receiver in the same sense, in the same manner as he wants to send it to the receiver. In encoding, the message is encoded by the sender to the receiver in the form of words, symbols, pictures, or day-to-day language. Philip Kotler points out that encoding the message requires solving some problems like what to say means message content, means the facts, opinions, appeals, ideas which are used by the sender to the receiver. How to say means the message format, means the way in which the message is presented. The format of the message should be such that it attracts the attention of the receiver. And who should say it means the person who communicates the message of the organization to the target audience. And the message delivered by the attractive or popular persons like film stars, sports persons, or top models that achieves high attention. So encoding of message means converting the message into words, slogans, pictures, symbols, colors, figures, actions, signals, signs, or it can be sales talk or advertisement. Next is channel or media. Communication channel or media carries the encoded message from the source to the receiver or the audience. And the channel communicating the message can be personal or non-personal. Personal channel of communication refers to delivering the message through salesmen, while non-personal channels refers to mass communication like advertisement, publicity, and these channels can be newspapers, magazines, television, radio, signboards, direct mail, email or internet, etc. Next is receiver. Receiver is the person with whom the sender shares the thoughts or the information. Receiver is the person or group of persons or an organization that receives the message. Audience is the destination of the message, and without which the process of communication is incomplete. It can be a listener or a reader or a viewer of a message, or can be a group of persons who not only receives the message but also understands what is implied in it. The receiver decodes the message, understand it, and give its feedback or response. It can be individual, group, companies, retailers, wholesalers, public, or consumer. Next is decoding of the message, means how the message has been interpreted. Decoding is a mental process by which the receiver draws meaning from the words, symbols, or pictures of a message. In decoding process, signs are converted into concepts and ideas, and the receiver understands the message. If the receiver understands the meaning of the words or symbols correctly, the communication process is complete and decoding is perfect. Then advertising objective is achieved. But if decoding is not in the same manner as the receiver sender wants to communicate, then the message sending is incomplete. And decoding of the message depends upon many factors. How the receiver decodes the message, that depends upon the past experience of the receiver, his education level, perception, attitude, and age factor. Next is feedback. Feedback means the response of the receiver. It is the final link in the communication process. The sender usually expects feedback from the receiver to know how effective is the communication. The receiver expresses his response or feedback by way of spoken comments, written message, smile, eye movement, body movements. With the help of the feedback, the sender can evaluate the effectiveness of communication. During face-to-face communication or personal selling, both verbal and non-verbal feedback can be immediate. The instant feedback allows the communicator to adjust the message quickly and he can make the presentation effective. In mass communication like advertisement, feedback is a slow and difficult to recognize. The advertisers obtain feedback through the salesman reports or the market research. So it can be response, sales complaints, inquiries, doubts, suggestions, salesman report, market surveys and research, consumer behavior and observations. So this is the whole advertising communication process and system, but there is another element, that is noise. Noise is anything that interferes with or distorts the message delivery to the target audience. That is noise. Noise reduces the effectiveness of the communication and it may occur at any stage of communication process. Like it may occur while encoding the message, while designing the message, transmitting the message, or while decoding the message. So, due to noise element, the receiver may not get the message in the same way in which the sender intends to deliver it. Sometimes there is disturbance on the viewer's television sets when advertisements are going on. That is another form of communication. It reduces the effect of impact of advertisement on the consumers. Noise may also arise from the factories or vehicles which make it hard for the salesman to be heard. Wrong media selection, busy audience members are other factors which creates noise in communication process. So noise refers to the factors that distorts the communication process and lessen the impact of communication. So this is the whole advertising communication process and system. I hope you must have enjoyed this video lecture. Thank